Do you like to change your cursor to pointer?
I need to point here, right? Okay. Hi.
Can you make sure to speak in French?
Okay. I'm trying to see how I can. I just click here, then it will be.
The arrows, I think.
Okay. Okay. So, good afternoon. I think everyone can hear me clearly. Great, thank you. So, I'm Tanya. I'm here supposedly to be with the team, but seems like they're somewhere else. We are trying to talk about climate responsive planning strategy for redevelopment in cities. Um, so, oops. Okay. I'm going to bring back the story to Hong Kong again. Hong Kong actually is a subtropical city with not only hot but very humid climate. Chloe just mentioned to everyone, it is also a very high density city, and the picture here is not exaggerated at all. So it is hot, humid climate plus urban island effect. So you can imagine. Just as everywhere else in the world, Hong Kong is not escaping from climate change. So temperature rising, city getting hotter and hotter, and people are suffering. The next, I want to show you two slides I usually show to students in class. So this is actually showing the very hot days and hot nights in 2020, right? And just within a year, this climate jumped dramatically. This actually is reminds you this is the same scale. So basically, in 2021, both the number of hot days and hot nights breaking the record since we ever have observatory. So maybe some of you already know that hot nights is actually more dangerous and problematic because it is time that your body is supposed to recover from the heat from the day, but now it's still hot. It actually it's more threatening to people's health and especially for elderly and women. So basically, what can we do as urban planners and designers? Actually, urban renewal offer a great opportunity for enhancing our city climate resilience, and maybe it is even the only opportunity because just like Hong Kong or some cities in Europe, that we are actually quite saturated in terms of development. We don't have a lot of places to plan and build smartly, but now we can actually have a new opportunity to think again, how can we do it? Because if actually in Hong Kong we have this new planning mechanism of transfer of the plot ratio and site merging, naming that you can now rethink where to plan your road, open spaces, green spaces, and again reorganize the building geometry. So this is actually quite a new window and opportunity, and it is quite new proposed by the authority last year. So they also aiming to provide more greening for the pedestrian from comfort. So among all the urban area, the so-called Yau Mong area, is Mong called Yau Ma Tei area, it is quite under the spotlight because this is a traditionally high density and very core urban area. So the Urban Renewal Authority published a study report, and they say something like increasing the land efficient by closing some of the roads, elevated pedestrian network with greening links, and also this renewal concept with plus zero and minor density. So as a researcher, when we look at this, and then we immediately identify some of the keywords for research. For example, affecting the wind path, probably they will increasing vertical greening, and then with all this planning, there will be a dynamic change of urban morphology. So a lot of the cooling and strategy we need to assess with a dynamic changing of urban geometry, which is completely quite new, introduce a new dimension. So with that, the team actually want to try to explore different redevelopment scenarios for this targeted site selected by the government. And we used the microclimate modeling of EnvironMat, the newest version, and then we did some measurement on site to collect data for model validation. So without further ado, we will first go to, so now the authority is saying something, they want to close some of the side road that is less efficient. So from a kind of responsive kind of view, we try to say, okay, what if in this case, we probably, if you want to close some of the streets and then widen some of that, then we will pick the wheel path that we're going to enlarge the street area, while some of the streets at the lee wall scenario, we can think about if either you narrow it down or you can completely close it. So we try to compare different scenarios. To be very more realistic, we will maintain a similar building morphology, building volume, because we want to keep the housing at a certain amount. So we can see that for if you narrow down some of the leeward position streets, but let's say enlarge the green path, of course we will identify a more noticeable kind of increase of wind speed in the wind path, while in the side lane that you will narrow down, of course there was some decrease, but because they're actually at the beginning, they're at the leeward side, there's not much wind at the beginning, so still benefit is prevailing in this kind of situation. But if you completely close down of the side lane, we can see that it actually jeopardizes the wind benefit of enlarging the wind path street. Also that, yes, there are some wind increase in the parallel side wind, but still, it is basically, we would say that it's not good for the whole district kind of ventilation. So we were trying to suggest to the authority, comparatively speaking, you can narrow down the side lane, but rather not to close it completely, because anyway, it will just do more damage than good. The second one is that, on the second point, we noticed like if you enlarge the wind path, the mean radiant temperature would noticeably increase because we have an enlarged scale factor. It means that, and then as a combined result, PET doesn't actually have much cooling effect. So basically, you need more strategy than just enlarging the, let's say, the street parallel to the wind direction. So that brings us to the second study about combining the road widening with tree planting at the site. Because as you can see that in Hong Kong there is a planning policy about if, because the government wants to encourage good practice about building setback and widening the street area for people to use. That's why they have an incentive of as much as 5 times of the setback area as an actual buildable area for the developer. That means you can have a wider street, but probably a little bit taller buildings on the side because you have more buildable areas now. So we try to combine this planning incentive and policy in the study. So we compared. Actually, I think that's the one slide, but it's okay. I'll explain. So the first scenario, we compare 3 meter setback with 6 meter setback. And then the last scenario will be just 3 meter setback with roadside tree planting. And then you can see here is showing you the ideal scenario. Just like we showed before, if you have a larger setback, of course, the wind speed would be significantly increased on the street, but on the other hand, the mean radiant temperature will also increase. So it's because of the scale factor in large, and in Hong Kong, maybe cloudy scenario, the radiation is from all the directions, so it's not very good for human comfort. So we're suggesting rather with a 3 meter setback, you have the benefit of increasing the wind speed already. And with the tree shading, there is a considerable decrease in mean radiant temperature as well as the TET. So we can also see from the simulation in the street, there are certain spots that can actually provide comfortable conditions for people. So we are suggesting to, this is another lesson that we think it's better to combine different strategies and achieve a more comprehensive effect rather than use just one strategy to maximize, and somehow it can be not so balanced because it will also increase the development intensity. Okay, so now the third study actually is also related for this area. We're trying to see how can you design so-called the podium greenery for and its benefit for street level microclimate improvement. Because we already know that sky garden maybe it's too up high, that's for the bird, but then podium greenery, which is actually quite closer to the projection level. But what are the controlling factors? So we actually conducted a study, which is going to be, it's already accepted to be presented in another conference in the IC2 Olympic Island. Maybe some of you also attend later on in Melbourne. We're going to present that the height is critical, of course, and then also its relation with the surrounding building geometry as well as the wind location would definitely be critical for the cooling performance for pedestrian comfort. So for that, we probably will have further discussion in later with you guys if we can meet on that conference. So that's probably much for that's what I wanted to share with you today. Here are the little summary. Basically, urban renewal is an important opportunity for enhancing climate resilience of our cities. This is definitely, I think, is a very new and emerging theme and market. And then when it comes to redevelopment, there will be some real-world concerns. Of course, for all the projects, there are real-world concerns, but maybe redevelopment is more complicated because they involve like mixed kind of property rights, the market-driven issues, and also, especially for high-density areas, that we have to concern that some of the residents want to stay behind, and we cannot in some point lower the density. Sometimes you may even have to increase. But on the other hand, you need to also aim to improve the quality of life. So in this case, we really need to exploit different type of integrated strategies so that you can have a more synergetic effect for maximum outcome. And also that in the renewal, we think that we need to really consider the local planning vision and some policy and initiatives that probably would associate with some dynamic changing of the urban morphology in this scenario. So assessing different type of strategy you need to consider with a dynamic urban geometry changing, which is probably also the fun for us as a planner and designer. So this is our team's website, and sometimes we constantly update our research finding on it, and you're very welcome to visit us. That's all for today. Thank you very much.
All right, we have time for questions.